Welcome back, everyone. Our next presenter is HAVN Life Sciences, Inc. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol HAVLF, as well as on the CSE under the symbol HAVN, and is a biotechnology company pursuing standardized extraction of psychedelic compounds for the creation of APIs, the development of natural health products, and innovative therapies to support brain health and enhance the capabilities of the mind. Today, we have with us Tim Moore, the CEO of HAVN Life Sciences. Welcome, Tim.
Good morning, Anna. How are you today?
Great. We're so excited to hear from you, and I believe we're going to start with a video. So let's play the video, and then we'll hear from you, Tim. All right?
Bags are packed, are you ready to go? This time tomorrow we'll be on the road, riding with you in the sunnier days. I wouldn't want it any other way, taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
All right. Beautiful video. Tim, talk to us a little bit for investors who aren't too familiar with HAVN Life. Can you please describe your business model and your strategy?
Sure, Anna. We may grow mushrooms, but we're in the mental health business. I mean, that's the purpose of that video, is to show the importance of mental health and how you can change people's lives. And we have two distinct models. One is the development of a supply chain of naturally derived psilocybin, cultivating mushrooms and supplying psilocybin to the industry. And the second business model is a range of nutritional supplements using non-restricted compounds, things like lion's mane and reishi, to leverage the well-established consumer habit around the nutritional supplements as part of a daily regimen.
Great. So what is your background? How did you get into this industry?
Well, I'm a career packaged goods person. I spent 35 years in that space. I was at Clorox for 18 years. I spent 7 years running the North American Brita business, both the food service and the branded business. I got into the cannabis space based on personal motivation, and this is a story of 3 acts. So there's a happy ending, but the second act is kind of dark. I like to preface that because sometimes people react a little strongly. I've raised 5 sons. We've dealt with mental health issues with them over the last 3 decades. 2 sons with anxiety disorder that they were treated for. I had a suicidal 14-year-old. One of my sons has Asperger's. My middle son was hit by a drunk driver 6 years ago, seriously injured, and ended up as an opioid addict as a result of that, on a cocktail of Percocet and Vicodin and fentanyl and others. Anyhow, it was cannabis that saved his life. That got me into the cannabis space 4 years ago. But when I saw the promise that psychedelics offer for anxiety, depression, PTSD, anger management, substance abuse, I knew this is where I wanted to spend my career. I really think of this psychedelics industry as the industry of hope for people to get their lives back. Instead of being in a condition where they find whatever it is that works for them, that gets them numb enough to get through the day, because that road, I think, leads to suicide far too often. So psychedelics offer the promise of resetting through neuroplasticity, allowing you to get past that trauma that's been in your life and be able to live your life. And that's what motivates me and why I'm here.
Well, that's a beautiful, meaningful story. Thank you for sharing that. Fascinating. From Clorox to psychedelics seems like a good shift to me. So let's talk a little bit about psilocybin, right? I mean, it's not legal. When do you think it will be legalized?
Well, first of all, I don't think of it as being illegal. I just think of it as being highly regulated, like guns and tobacco and alcohol. The regulations are fairly complicated, pretty much everywhere. Canada, the US, so you're dealing with complicated regulations. But I think that we're seeing significant movement in public policy, and that we'll see legalization of it coming. I don't know how fast that will be. I mean, we've seen places like Oregon and Denver and Ann Arbor and Washington, D.C. and other jurisdictions that have decriminalized. In Canada, we've seen Health Canada issue a number of compassionate use end-of-life exemptions for terminal cancer patients. And in December, we saw the DEA dramatically change the psilocybin and other compounds researchers could have on hand. So policy is evolving, and I think that that's in response to the really significant mental health issues that society is facing. I mean, statistically, 11% of people have some mental health issues, but you're looking at billions of dollars being spent on treatment. You're looking at billions of dollars of lost productivity, plus the human cost of suicide, and just the part. I mean, last year in the United States, over 7,000 veterans committed suicide, and somehow that's not seen as a crisis. I think that policymakers are coming to realize that this is an issue. Similarly, opioid overdose deaths are people that are seeking help, and many of those are people that could possibly benefit from psychedelics. We had in British Columbia, we had more opioid overdose deaths last year than we had COVID deaths, and we didn't mobilize against opioids the way we mobilized against COVID. So we'll see this evolve. We'll see the opportunity emerge, and this is going to be a significant industry.
You're spot on. Talk to me a little bit about the benefit of using psilocybin specifically medicinally, and talk to me about it as a business.
So first of all, I'm not a scientist. So these are things that I've learned in the 2 years that I've been in this industry, and my science team is trying to make me into a scientist. But what psilocybin does is, as your body metabolizes it into psilocin, so psilocybin itself is a prodrug. The actual drug that affects your brain is psilocin. Much like with cannabis, you have THCA that has to be decarboxylated to become THC for you to get high. Same thing happens with psilocybin, but it operates on your brain, and it's neuroplasticity is what it is. It's about manipulating pathways in your brain to have your thinking be different. And what that does is it allows you to deal with the trauma or the emotional issues that have been causing your anxiety or your depression, and brings them to the forefront of your brain, which is why in a psychedelic experience, you need to have a trained professional there, what's often referred to as a guide, because that experience can be overwhelming, overly emotional, and can really be quite upsetting. And you need someone that can help talk you through that so that it doesn't really overwhelm you. So you have that opportunity. And people that suffer from PTSD in particular have said that they get weeks of relief from a single dose. So what the industry is looking for is, can we deliver a non-psychedelic dose, a therapeutic dose that provides those benefits without the consequences of that psychedelic experience? Similarly, we have people that are developing psychedelic-assisted therapy that want the psychedelic experience as part of it. That just, in my opinion, limits the number of people that will want to participate, because it's a bit of a daunting experience, and it's not for everyone. So the microdosing, as it's referred to, or for me, finding a therapeutic dose is the right thing. It's difficult though, because with mental health, it's not a binary solution. Like, if I had high blood pressure, you take my blood pressure, you give me the medication, you take my blood pressure. Did it work? Yes or no? With mental health, there's no, hey, are you still feeling anxious? How about now? How about now? It doesn't work that way. You need to treat the entire patient. You need to provide them with coping mechanisms. You need to deal with things in their environment. You need to provide psychotherapy along with it. And you need to heal the person, not just treat the brain. And so it's a pretty complicated thing dealing with mental health.
It is.
Now, you asked about the business side of it. So on the business side of it, for us, we're a supplier to the industry. So the metaphor would be we're selling picks and shovels to the gold miners. So we're supplying psilocybin to various industry groups. We've signed supply agreements with operators of retreats in places like Antigua, St. Kitts, Jamaica, Costa Rica, with psychedelic-assisted therapy clinics that are administering to patients that have compassionate use exemptions. and to new drug development companies. So in the near term, we have the opportunity to be in revenue. We've already had our first purchase order from the Revive Therapeutics to ship to their partner at University of Wisconsin. We've successfully imported product into the United States with all the appropriate DEA approvals. We've also imported into Canada. So we're in revenue on the psychedelics business this year with the promise of being a supplier of API when at some future date, call it 3 to 5 years from now, there's millions of prescriptions being written. So it's a pretty big total available market that we're pursuing. And my task is to drive our organization to get as much market share as possible.
And where is your, I'll call it a grow facility, and how are you packaging these? Is it going to turn into a nutritional supplement business, or are they going to be capsulated?
Yeah, there's two businesses. Let me answer your question. We're currently cultivating mushrooms in Jamaica because in Jamaica, psilocybin is seen as a functional food, not as a drug. So think of coffee as a plant. Coffee has caffeine in it, which arguably is a drug, but we choose to look at it as a functional food. That's how Jamaica treats psilocybin. So we fall under the Ministry of Agriculture there. And by moving our facility, then setting up in Jamaica, we completely eliminated the risk around waiting for a license because Health Canada is a fairly slow process. So we were able to accelerate our ability to get into cultivation. We've also partnered with a GMP facility in Jamaica to process there. So we export from Jamaica as a GMP compliant food product, imported into Canada, US as a controlled substance, either under the DEA or under Health Canada, depending on the jurisdiction. And as I said, we validated that supply chain into both markets. So that product is available as dried ground homogeneous mushrooms, as a crude extract, which provides all of the components of the mushroom, and then as an isolate with the psilocybin and psilocin combination as a dried powder. That is distinct from our nutritional supplement business, which is not restricted products, which is available online or at retail stores. We launched that last year. We're building that footprint out. We just got those products onto Amazon.com this week. And so we're excited about the growth prospects on that business as well.
Great. Can you talk a little bit more about those products?
Sure. We have a range of 11 products in our nutritional supplement business. 7 of them are the capsules for our powders that you put into a drink. They're for treating things like improving focus, stress, helping with sleep, immunity. We have a patented formula around traumatic brain injury that's being used by 19 professional sports teams as part of their brain injury protocol. So if a professional athlete has suffered 1 or more concussions, they want to be very mindful of that they'll typically have symptoms like inability to sleep or headaches. And our Brain Evolve product is very effective for helping people with sleep and has shown benefit for traumatic brain injury.
Wow. Talk to me a little bit about your recent announcement with Revive Therapeutics and the University of Wisconsin. What's going on there?
So Revive is conducting clinical trials. They have a thin film strip that they use as their delivery system, and the work is being done by the University of Wisconsin, and Revive has provided us with our first purchase order to ship to Wisconsin so that they can finalize quality dosing as well as the delivery mechanism, and then we'll be providing them with the doses for their clinical trials. And it's a good partnership, and we're excited to work with Revive, and we're very excited to be sending product to the University of Wisconsin.
That's great. So talk a little bit about the next year. What are some milestones you want to hit?
Well, we want to continue to increase our shipments on the psychedelics business through our supply partners, our supply agreement partners. We're hoping to build that out in the next few months. We're also looking to find a pathway to import into the UK. We've signed supply agreements in the UK, but nobody has legally imported psilocybin into the UK for 50 years. So we're looking for the gateway to do that. It's interesting, as I said before, psilocybin is highly regulated. We actually look at those regulations as a barrier to entry because you need to have assembled the appropriate intellectual capital to navigate it. And at that point, if we are successful as we've been in North America, it does provide us with some competitive advantages. So that's on the psychedelic side. It'll be just increasing volume and building out capacity. On the nutritional supplement side, it's increasing our retail footprint as well as our e-commerce footprint, doing additional advertising and promotion to build our consumer franchise there and getting that business to a significant scale. We're looking at adding some more SKUs later in the year. We've done some new product development. We're just waiting for the right opportunity to launch those.
Well, it looks like you're right at the precipice of a burgeoning industry that's about to happen in a good way. So talk about how you are different from the others out there. What is the psychedelic sector like?
Well, much of the psychedelic sector is in new drug development. And as we know, that's a lengthy process. And it is also a binary process. I mean, you can have failure at any point along in your clinical trials. And so it's also quite expensive. I think the average cost to go through the entire new drug development protocol is about $250 million. And a lot of other companies are in the clinic business, which is also very capital intensive to operate the clinics. We're a very capital light business. Our facility in Jamaica was not that expensive to create. Our nutritional supplement business is being manufactured by third-party manufacturers, so we're not carrying the cost of a manufacturing facility. And that allows us to operate with relatively little capital and get to revenue now. I mean, we're in revenue on our nutritional supplement business. We've just had our first order on psychedelics, and that sets us apart from other companies that are basically asking their shareholders to wait 3 to 5 years before they're going to be in revenue.
Wow. Francis Jackson, one of our viewers, says that your website states you're part of a global community. So talk about that community and what you're doing to grow it further.
Well, people that are interested in psychedelics very much are a community. There's thousands of people that are self-medicating now, and it's mental health is a global issue, and so the use of psychedelics is also a global issue. And these products, whether it's psilocybin or others, have been used as traditional medicine for thousands of years and permeate every culture. I mean, psilocybin mushrooms grow on every continent except for Antarctica. And so the indigenous people have been using them and other psychedelic compounds as part of traditional medicine. And that's sort of the groundswell of the international. And then the scientists that participate in this industry have a very strong kinship because they've been somewhat vilified for 3 decades because of the war on drugs. And so they became a relatively close-knit community. So Dr. Ivan Castleman, who is our Chief Psychedelics Officer, his connections are global. He's got associates around the world that have been involved in psychedelics. Our relationship with veterans transcend borders as well. We have a relationship with the Heroic Hearts in Canada, the US, and the UK, and the issues that veterans suffer from are not limited to just those countries. So it's, as I said, because mental health is a global issue, psychedelics as an opportunity is a global village as well.
Yes. Well, as Sally Aguilar says, mental illness is one of the most underfunded and underacknowledged problem facing our country. Are there any government programs that provide funding for this that you can tap into?
No, not yet. But as I said, the encouraging is the end-of-life exemptions that are being granted in Canada. And if you go back a decade when the same thing was happening with cannabis, what happened shortly thereafter is there was funding made available for in particular for veterans groups. So I think that's likely the first thing that we're going to see with psychedelics is a cohort, whether it's veterans or some other cohort that gets identified. In Jamaica, we're working with the government there, and they've identified 2 cohorts. They don't have an issue with veterans because Jamaica hasn't had a standing army, I don't think, at least not recently. But the 2 cohorts that they've identified are prisoners and abused women, and they're looking to put together a psychedelic-assisted therapy program to support those 2 groups, and we're planning to collaborate with the Jamaican government on that. So there are government programs, and as I said earlier, public policy is evolving quickly, And I do think that we will see funding for this, but not in the short term.
Rose Simmons asks, as an investor, where can she find your quarterly filings? She doesn't see much information on the OTC.
If she goes to the CSE.com and looks at our profile there, all of our filings are on our page, on the CSE page. And you can also get to them on HAVNLife.com. If you go to the investors page, you can get to them there.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Alvin Payne asks, how many different variations of psychedelics do you work with? And is there a different business model and profit margin for each?
We're currently focused just with psilocybin mushrooms. And there are different profit margins depending on how far down the value chain you go, whether it's the dried mushrooms or the crude extract or the isolate. But we feel that that's where we want to stay is focused on psilocybin. There's multiple strains within that have different benefits. We've stabilized several of those genetics in that, and we're looking now to how do we increase the yield, the percentage of psilocybin. I mean, if you think of cannabis, when I was in high school, cannabis was like 6% THC. Now it's up to 30%. So over the coming years, we're going to see psilocybin become a more efficient plant.
Wow. Chris C. wants to know if your products are meant to work in conjunction with other medications.
So with nutritional supplements, I mean, the label always says, ask your healthcare provider before starting another supplement, because there are potential interactions, and I don't pretend to know what they are. But most people that take nutritional supplements, and 3/4 of the population takes nutritional supplements on a regular basis. Most people take multiple products, and so adding mushrooms into it is pretty straightforward for them. I mean, for me, I take tart cherry for my gout and glucosamine and chondroitin for my arthritis, as well as taking our mushroom products. And yeah, I would encourage anyone that's adding our products to their portfolio of nutritional supplements to get advice from a healthcare professional on, is there potential interactions?
Yep. Elon Brooks asks if there are any major pharmaceutical or cannabis companies that you're interested in looking to work with.
We're not having any discussions with anyone in particular. Big Pharma hasn't really taken much of a look at this space yet. I think that will come. I think they're watching, but they've not really made any significant move. Certainly not like Constellation's investment in cannabis a few years ago. But I think that'll be coming. So we're open to discussions with anybody, frankly. So if someone out there is interested in partnering with us, let me know.
Great. Ross Benson asks, where is your current market geographically, and where can you expand to? Plus, what percentage of location growth do you plan to see over the next 24 months?
So our nutritional supplement business is primarily focused in Canada, although we're also shipping to the US. We have launched on Amazon.com this week, and later this month we're shipping our first order to Australia. We've got a partner there that's going to be distributing it in Australia, New Zealand, and in China. So we'll be expanding to that market. We are also looking at Europe for nutritional supplements. We will expand as cash flow permits. For psychedelics, our current focus again is Canada and the United States. The United States is a significantly larger market simply because more of the drug trials are going to take place there than in Canada. We have one of our partners that's conducting their clinical trials in Eastern Europe, so we'll be shipping there. And as I said, we're working on importing into the UK because we've signed agreements with people in the UK as well.
We have a question from Edward Ori. He wants some clarification that you purchased some intellectual property a few months ago and then loaned some money. Why did you do that? And can you discuss how your company is currently capitalized?
So the intellectual property was the traumatic brain injury product that I mentioned to you. So it was a company called Bennett's Choice. Matthew Bennett was the inventor. He's actually joined us as our director of education. He has training in nutritional supplements, as well as he was a sports technician. He worked on, for example, the Toronto Maple Leafs medical team. So he has significant experience with brain injury. So we're launching that product under the HAVN Life name, as well as in negotiations for some white label agreements to sell it under other brands. The loan took place in the fourth quarter of last year, a $750,000 loan to Spore. It's a secured convertible loan. We were in discussions on potentially acquiring Spore, taking over 100% of the company. That didn't happen, but we have a strategic investment in that business through that loan, and we'll just see how that plays out as their business develops this year. Currently, our capitalization, we just did a small raise this week, which we're closing tomorrow, $2 million through H.C. Wainwright. Given the low share price right now, we didn't want to do much of a raise because it's fairly dilutive, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough cash runway in front of us that we didn't get ourselves into a challenging position. We've filed a $25 million shelf prospectus in October of last year that expires in November of 2023, which is a signal to the market that we plan to raise up to $25 million in that period of time. So that's where we are in capitalization.
Okay. And William Gill asks for you to tell your shareholders what you can do to regain confidence and the failing share price. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, every CEO will say his share price is too low. We feel our stock is on sale right now, and it's, there's been a bit of a bear market on psychedelics for a number of months now, and we've been caught up in that like everyone else. We need to continue to hit our milestones. We need to build our revenue, and we need to just keep doing the things that we put in our prospectus, what we told people we do when we took their money. And we're very focused on operations, on hitting those milestones. And like I said, the most important thing for us to do is get to scale on our nutritional supplement business and continue to prove the concept on our psychedelics business and ship more of that product to additional customers.
Okay. David Flamholes, Tito Rod, and Trevor Bedbrook ask, what insight can you provide as to why the Spore acquisition didn't go through? And what is your current monthly burn rate? And why was the latest stock offering $2 million?
Wow, that's a ball of string to unwind. So I just answered the question. The $2 million, we didn't want to raise a lot because of the low share price, and it would have been far too dilutive to have done that. Sorry, what was the first of the three questions? Why did the Spore transaction not close? Some of the conditions required for closing simply weren't met, and so we weren't able to close it. I really can't get into any details other than those conditions simply weren't met, and so we couldn't move forward. Our burn rate fluctuates month to month, depending. There's some lumpiness around when we buy inventory or when we pay our lawyer bills and things like that. But our burn rate is under $400,000 a month right now.
Okay. And do you offer guidance on nutraceutical sales for the year?
We don't yet. I hope to be able to do that soon. We just need a little more road behind us before I can describe the road ahead. This simply hasn't been enough. But when we get to the point that we can provide guidance, we will be doing that.
And do you have any plans to uplist to the OTC QB from the Pinks? Jeff Olson asks.
We've taken a look at that. We need to get our share price up before we think about doing an uplist, frankly. We've been approached. I've had several banks talk to us that they'd like to take us on a NASDAQ uplisting, but that's a reach that's currently beyond our grasp right now. But at the OTC uplist is something that we have discussed. Yeah, no plans right now, but it's certainly been discussed.
Okay, and last question from Kelly Baker, asking, when you say we can discuss your team, talk a little bit about your team and the reason behind why you chose the people you work with.
Well, we have a really strong technical team backed by a really strong operational team, and we think that that's a great combination. So I mentioned Ivan Castleman, who's our Chief Psychedelics Officer. I've got Alex Samuelson, who's our chemist who leads our research. And he's had years of experience working not only with psychedelics, but also with cannabis. We have an excellent team on regulatory affairs. Our board includes Gary Leung, who was at Jameson Labs. That's a significant nutritional supplement business, as well as experience in cannabis. We have a deep experience in retail. Jenna Poser, who's our Chief Operations Officer, has been working in nutritional supplements on the retail side for 18 years. As I said, I've got 35 years experience with packaged goods. Our chair, Vic Neufeld, spent a couple of decades at Jameson Labs as well before going to Aphria, so he's also got controlled substance experience. So yeah, we've got good bench strength and good experience. We have over 100 years of packaged goods experience and 30 or 40 years of controlled substance experience on our leadership team.
Wow. Well, this is a fascinating presentation. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us. Please come back with some updates in the future.
Anna, thanks very much. It's great seeing, good talking to you again. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you. You too. Okay, everyone, it's been a great day here at the Emerging Growth Conference. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, in just a second, you're going to be redirected to the registration page for the next conference in 2 weeks. So stay on and reserve your spot early. On behalf of all of us at the Emerging Growth, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and our attendees for making this such a successful Emerging Growth Conference today. A complete replay of this conference separated by company will be available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Please subscribe there, as well as follow us on Twitter at Emerging Growth C. We always post new information to Twitter first. I'm Anna Berry, and on behalf of myself and everyone who made this event possible, I wish you all a happy, healthy, and successful 2022. We'll see you in a few weeks. Thanks you all for watching.